Hi, everybody. It's Gwen Elliott here, and you're watching the Start Something Big worldwide interview series. And I'm thrilled to introduce a phenomenal guest today. Her name is Karlyn Percil, and she's a native of Saint Lucia. Hi, Karlyn. How's it going?
Hi, I'm great. Sakafet tout le monde.
And exactly what did you just say to our lovely viewers?
So in Saint Lucia, we speak French Creole.
Mhm.
And Sakafet means how are you? And tout le monde means how are you, everyone?
How do I say damn fantastic?
Thank you for having me, Gwen.
Anytime. So hopefully by the end you can teach me how to say something in Creole as well.
Yes.
Anything, I
Totally.
would love to. I would love to. That's all about learning on this show. Speaking of learning, I would love to share with our amazing viewers a little bit about you before we launch into how you started on your path. So let's get right into it, everybody. Get ready, everyone. This is a good bio. It's juicy, okay? So Karlyn is an author, a motivational speaker, the creator of SisterTalk, which we will definitely be getting deep into. She's a philanthropist, a creator of The Elephant Story, a TV host, creator of her own phone app. She's a banker. She's the ambassador of UNICEF's Break the Silence initiative, and she's been featured on tons of amazing media outlets, from the Huffington Post to, I don't know if you've heard of this show, but Oprah's Life Class several times. Once with Brene Brown. I know Karlyn's a huge fan, a peer of Brene's, and also her own personal story was featured on OWN's Life Story project. So again, Karlyn, thank you so much for taking some time today to chat about your life. I'm so excited.
Oh, thank you for having me. What a long introduction, but thank you for getting it all in there.
Nailed it! Thank God. No, I mean, I've had the privilege of knowing you not even a year, and it's one of those things where I'm just like, where have you been all my life? To see a woman who's so passionate about empowering other women and really bringing us all up, that's something that you just, that's what, when I see you, that's what I think of. So thank you so much for doing that, just right off the top.
Thank you. No, thank you. I feel like we've known each other for longer. No, has it only been a year?
Not even. Not
See, that's
even.
just how amazing you are. People meet you, and I know everybody's just drawn, like me, drawn to your vibrant spirit and your Gwenness, which I attribute to your greatness, right? And we just clicked, and you're just also a very, very amazing young lady. So it's quite an honor to know you and to have me on Start Something Big.
Oh, thank you. I like how this is going already. Well, I'd love to learn right from the start. So tell us about your upbringing in Saint Lucia.
Mhm. St. Lucia, I often refer to myself as a bush girl. And for those of you who are not familiar with the terminology of a bush girl, it means that I literally grew up, like, I wouldn't even call it a farm. We were surrounded by lots of green, lots of trees. Our parents is the only house in that area, and I had to walk about an hour and a half to catch the bus to go to school. And we had nobody near us, so I had no friends coming over to play with me. It was just myself with the trees and the birds and the bees and the crickets at night time.
Mhm.
That was it. No running water, no electricity. So when I first moved here, I moved to Canada in 2003. So I've been here for 10 years now, going onto 11. And I remember one of my colleagues at work saying, oh, let's go camping. It's going to be so much fun. And I was like, no, my whole life has been camping, like I had to go, like Oprah, go into the outback to use the toilet. I didn't know anything about flushing a toilet or turning on light. I did my homework by candlelight, so you could say that I also had a very romantic childhood, and often remember the smell of my burnt hair when I was doing my homework at night. So it was quite a very, I would say, enriching and I'm very happy and thankful for the way I grew up, because it really, when I look back at what I was surrounded by and how I came into the world, I was surrounded by lots of lush green vegetation. So I'm taking this as a sign of the great things that will happen in my life and that will come in my life.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
mean, that's pretty amazing, to think of where you are today and how you started out, doing your homework by candlelight and not having electricity or flushing toilets. It's like, wow, you know, how different it has been for you. So I'd love for you to share with us about, you know, you seem to have multiple passions and have a very entrepreneurial spirit. I'd love to hear how you kind of started on your entrepreneurial path.
It started with me trying to find myself, actually. There were a lot of things that I was interested in, and when I have an idea, I either figure out a way to do it, or if I can't do it, then I forget about it. So on that path of finding out who Karlyn is, or not was, but who she is, I dabbled in quite a number of things, but I never really got to the core of what I really wanted to do because I was still holding myself back. I still had what I would call my elephant story. My elephant story still held me hostage. So my first company I started was, when I first moved to Toronto, it took me a while for me to actually meet somebody else from my country, or it took me a while for me to meet a Caribbean national. So I remember the first time when I met somebody else in the Caribbean, especially from Saint Lucia, from Dominica, because we speak French Creole. I was able to speak French Creole with them, and it was just so much fun. Mm-hmm. And even just, again, Toronto is the most diverse city in the world. Speaking to my other colleagues, everybody's either from, you know, from Europe, from also, as well as the Caribbean. It was just a melting pot of different nationalities, different ethnicities. And I remember when I first went back home, everybody was like, you know, bring me something from Saint Lucia. And I was sick and tired of seeing the little, you know, wooden figurines with just the name Saint Lucia on it. And I told my colleague, I'm like, there's so much to Saint Lucia than just that. I mean, we speak a different language. That different language came about through our ancestors getting together and just learning about each other. Nobody taught them how to speak this language. And we have such a rich and diverse culture. And I told him, I remember I have this little person that always comes and says, oh, well, what are you going to do about it? And then the other one is like, well, I'm going to do something about it. Mm-hmm. And that's how my first company, Belle Moon, came about, which was a cultural diverse t-shirt line that had different sayings in different languages. So, for example, I had a Sakafet t-shirt. And it was a way to introduce our culture to others, but also celebrate it as well. So that was my first company. It was born out of a need to share with others a little bit more about my St. Lucian history and roots.
I mean, it's interesting. Some people would, like how you would actually start a business to share your passion and your love for where you're from. So tell us about what you did after that. So after you started the clothing company, what was kind of your next venture? How did it go to the next step?
My next step was, again, it was on this, I'm on this constant quest of defining myself, or I should say, trying to find out who God has designed me to be. So every time I get an inspired thought, I pursue it, or I either write it down, and when things come to me, I often follow it. So the second one was redefining beauty, and trying to get people to understand that feeling beautiful and looking beautiful, or looking a certain way, they don't always match up. Because I used to model when I was younger, and a lot of people used to look at me and be like, oh, she doesn't have any problems. Look at her, you know, she looks a certain way, so she has no problems and whatnot. But I went through a very long time in my life not feeling beautiful, and people didn't get that. They didn't understand that. Again, my elephant story held me hostage, but I couldn't share it because I wasn't at a point in my life where I accepted it and I owned that part of my life and that part of my story. So I wrote a book called I Am Beautiful, but it was more from a feeling beautiful from the inside out, and doing affirmations and telling yourself how awesome you are, and saying how, you know, to get beautiful eyes, you know, speak kind words to yourself and see yourself through gentle, caring, kind eyes and stuff like that. And my niece at the time, she was very, again, hell-bent on looking a certain way. And I was like, no, Nelly, for you to stay beautiful, you need to be kind, you need to be respectful, you need to listen to your mom, you need to clean your room. And if you do all of this, Auntie will give you beauty points. So she loved the idea. And when I used to call her, she'd be like, Auntie, I have 100 beauty points today, and, you know, and I had 200. And she really loved the concept of having points that she could redeem for something. So that's when I decided to write the beauty workbook, and that was my second book. And I wrote a beauty workbook for young girls from age 3 to 5, and then 5 to 10. And I still have a few copies of those books. And the T-shirt was actually carried by a hotel back home in Saint Lucia. I haven't produced anything else because I've kind of like put everything on hold. No new production until I really figure out what is the big picture and what is really next for me and my brand. So these were my two major. And of course, I've always given back. I grew up in the church. My mom, we're always doing something. So I was always hosting or creating youth events at church, giving back in the community. So a natural progression for me when I first moved here was to continue with hosting or helping out at community events. And that's how I developed more into being a host, or hosting the Saint Lucia Jazz Festival and hosting a lot of community events here in Toronto as well.
Well, that's something, when I was reading about you and past interviews, and listening to basically every interview I read or saw, you were volunteering your time with a different organization. I was like, how are you? You're everywhere, giving your time. I just think that's really important for people to know. Like, you have a very busy life with career and relationships and just all aspects of life, but you still find time to give back in a huge way. So thank you, and please continue to tell people and bring us with you so we can also make a big difference.
It's actually the tagline for my not-for-profit, where giving makes you beautiful, because I believe when we selflessly give of ourselves, that's how we end up being more beautiful, and we end up giving more. That compassion that we extend to others, we also extend a little bit of it to ourselves as well. So where giving makes you beautiful, I strongly believe in that. So and I try to practice what I preach 90% of the time. All of the time, of course. But I mean, when it comes to things like going to the gym and eating right all the time, I kind of follow on these ones. But, I pretty much follow what I put out there.
It's just a great opportunity to practice self-compassion.
Yes, it is.
So I got to ask, it's always fun to hear about entrepreneurs' success, but it's also, interesting to learn about the challenges they faced and how they rose above them. So could you share with viewers who look at you and they're like, wow, she's so vibrant, she's, figured it all out. Like, what challenges do you have to face and how did you overcome them?
I don't think we ever figure it all out. We figure it out as we go along. That's the and I think it's also a great thing because we also learn as well. But my biggest challenge for me was being a woman, and at the time being a single young woman. A lot of the people I had to deal with, especially when I first started my T-shirt line, I would meet with suppliers and they would be like, so where's your husband? And I'm like, I'm not married. Oh, so where's your boy? I don't have a boyfriend. They're like, so who's doing, so they're waiting for a man to come in to talk to them about the business, not realizing, well, no, it's me, and it's only me, so you have to deal with me. So there's that sort of bias from on the male perspective, on the male side towards us. And the other thing too was when I was looking for funding, I'll never forget, somebody very respectful in the community went out, get my business done, and then there's the subtle hint and the placing the hand on the knee. Well, you know what you have to do. Yeah, there's also that as well, and it's like, wow, no, I will work my butt off. I will stay up until midnight every day. I will do what I have to do my company. But if there's one thing I'm not doing, is compromising my integrity. Ever. These were the two major challenges, I would say. And of course, not having funding readily available, right, to do things as I would like to just go big and do something big, right? So it's doing things in phases, and I don't really see that as a setback necessarily. I mean, it just forces you to plan better. It forces you to be even more careful with, okay, if I'm spending that $500, what am I doing with it, and where should it go, and where would it add the most value? So it's a great opportunity to partner with other young entrepreneurs who are coming in who might have a service that if I can help them, if I can take that $500 instead of giving it to a huge company, I'd rather give it to them because I know that they're starting off, it will help them, but they're also very passionate and they would give their all to ensure that they really give you value for your money as well.
I gotta say, just what strikes me about you is your passion. Like, it just leaps off the screen, and I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this are like, how are you so passionate? And even when I read your bio, it's like, how do you do so many things? What is your secret to being so damn fabulous. Like just it's so driven, really.
I don't want to say I don't sleep, but there's a lot of time after work. Yes, I have a full-time job. I have a 9 to 5, but I'm also driven by the fact that I'm here for a short period of time, and God placed me here for a reason. And my goal is to find that reason and what it is. So after work, I spend a chunk of time working on my dreams, working on my goals, working on my passion. Same thing on the weekend. I don't have a lot of girlfriends or people for me to just sit on the phone and chat with. Yes, I have my guilty pleasures. I watch my shows. I love Dexter. I love Law and Order. I love my Scandal. I love my shows online. But if you take a couple of hours every night and you dedicate yourself to your craft, you'll find that we actually do have a lot of time. There's a lot of time.
Yeah, it seems like, of course, you gotta have a couple of things to like turn your brain off, or whatever kind of TV or whatever it is that you do. But yeah, I mean, and you also seem to just be very organized. I mean, with creating your own app and just like, you know, kind of the stuff you put out there to motivate people as well. And I just want to ask you, you were talking about, first, I realized that I don't think we really defined what an elephant story is, and people might be like, wait, what is that? So can you explain what it is and how we can, what we do with it once we figure out what our elephant story actually is?
Yeah, an elephant story, it's likened after the elephant in the room idiom. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have heard that. So when it's something that you have in your life, or like you have the elephant in the room, but you know it's there, but you don't really acknowledge it, or you don't do anything with it. So the elephant story, the way I coined it in terms of my life and my story, is a shame-based or fear-based story or an event that has happened in my life that I haven't dealt with, I haven't faced with. And in that case, for me, that elephant story is being a survivor. One of my elephant stories, being a survivor of child sexual abuse. So that shame story, that story that I didn't want anybody to know, because I thought that if people knew that about me, because I was blaming myself and I carried the guilt, like everybody would judge me, everybody would think that I'm not worthy, people would not believe in me and my dreams, and I would just be thought of less than. So we all have elephant story, and because it stemmed from a shame-based story, Dr. Brene Brown, my BFF, I stalk her online, I love her. She said that to feel shame or to have shame is to be human. The only people who don't experience shame are psychopaths. So we all have something that has happened to us at some point in our lives that made us feel less than, smaller than, not good enough, not worthy, not confident in who we are, in ourselves and our abilities. So it's when we don't face that story, when we don't own it, what happens to shame is that it thrives, and it actually tells you who you are. So we constantly hold ourselves back, we constantly undermine our abilities, and we constantly set the bar way lower than what we are capable of. Because shame thrives in silence, secrecy, and judgment. So once I understood that, it was like a huge light bulb aha moment for me, and that's why I decided to not only embrace and own my story and forgive myself for blaming myself all these years, but I also realized the power in sharing my story with others, because shame dies when it receives empathy. The minute it receives me too's, it dies. And what happens is that courage just blossoms, it blooms. So that's why I encourage, and the foundation of my empowerment work with women is to encourage them to embrace the elephant stories, because when we look beneath those stories, what we will find is love and courage, and that will give us what we need to run along with our dreams and make a difference in the world. Because I believe women will change the world. No offense to you guys out there, but women will change the world. It's up to us, Gwen.
Yeah, it's true. But of course, you know, we love the men as well. Of course,
we do. We can't do it without them. I cannot do half of the things I'm doing with my now fiance. I mean, like, he is so amazing, and he's such a rock for me. I am so grateful and thankful for him, and for God sending me the right partner who can be there for me as I go through. Because it's only recently I shared my elephant story. I only shared my story last year at the end of late 2012, and 2013 was a real test for me to walk in that vulnerability and to keep on sharing my story, and which is why I created SisterTalk, because I couldn't do it alone. When I first shared my story on Own's Life Story Project, I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, what did I do?
Well, I honestly, I use you as an example. I tell everybody about you because because I try and, you try and put yourself in someone else's shoes, and just knowing even the profession that you're in, and then suddenly you're on national television telling a secret that you were trying to keep for your entire life. I'm like, how did you do that? And how did you do that? Like, where did you get the courage? How did that come about where you decided, I'm gonna tell people?
It was twofold. One was I was sick and tired of seeing the reports of young girls as young as age 2 and 3 being violated. They're babies, they're kids, they're children. They can't defend themselves while we silently stand by and watch it. And I also had to acknowledge that I am one of those people who is silently standing by and doing nothing about it. Why? Because I was too afraid. I allowed fear and shame to control my actions. So when I came to that conclusion, the other part of it, so that was one, the other part of it was I wanted to be free of that weight on my shoulders more than holding on to the secret itself. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I wanted love, and I wanted to be free, and I wanted to go out there and discover who I am. Who am I? I really couldn't define myself until I embraced that part of that story, because the little girl who got abused, the one that I ignored for all those years, she also has some amazing talents and some gifts and some skills that I haven't tapped into as yet. And I think that's what we forget when we don't embrace our elephant stories, because that person that we try to ignore, that story that we try to we try to put on the side, they also carry some pretty amazing stuff for us. And Dr. Brene Brown said, and she said it really, really well, and that was another huge aha moment for me. She said that we cannot selectively numb our emotions. You cannot say, I am going to not feel this, so I'll numb that, but I will experience love and joy and be happy. No. If we're honest with ourselves, we'll realize that that happiness and that joy and that love is very temporary. It's very, very fleeting. It doesn't last. So I had to allow that young girl to show up, tell her story, embrace her, forgive myself for putting her through all that guilt and blame and judgment, and show up fully also. So this is me, and when I met my fiance, that's exactly what I said. This is me, this is all of me. There are some parts of me I'm still working on, but I love who I am. And I work hard to get here, real hard. So I want you to accept and love me for who I am as well. So
I'm curious if you remember like the moment that you had enough, like where you were when you said, okay, like I'm done. Like what was the catalyst for that moment?
Funny, I do. But even that moment, it still took me, I would say, probably about 2 years for me to actually go public. I was working at the Richmond, at the office. I was in the office on Richmond Street, downtown Toronto, and I was at a Tim Hortons. And I remember I'd read a story about this survivor who was raped of sexual assault, and she was pregnant. And I think they were battling with I think she was in a state where she wasn't allowed to have an abortion. And I remember I was at Tim Hortons, the light was streaming in. I know it sounds like a movie, but I'm remembering it as clear as day. And I remember telling myself, you're here, you're okay. You don't have to deal with you don't have a child for you to deal with. You're not, a lot of people end up in prostitution, gangs, drugs, but you have a job, you're functioning, you're here. You may not function as best as you would like to, but you don't have it as bad. So enough is enough. Let's do something about it. And I think that's when I started that journey of slowly accepting the story, and I started sharing it with certain individuals until I got to the point where it's like, okay, no, I need to do something. I need to use my story to help another 2 or 4-year-old from that horrific violence. Like, it's not fair to them. It's not. And we have to do everything we can to make the world a better place for them. And we can't keep saying that, oh, I want to empower women without taking care of something that is affecting 150 million women worldwide. And it's underreported. Sexual assault is underreported. But we say we want to empower women, because what we forget is that young girls grew up to be adults. They grew up to be older women like you and I.
Hmm. Well, I mean, one thing I also just admire so much is your sense of conviction in the way that you address these issues. It's like, I mean, I can imagine if I had gone through something like that, I would want to be around you because you just feel so safe. And that's what I noticed when you ran your big Sister Talk event was, you know, you think you know a person, and then when they feel safe enough to share their story, you
Yeah.
learn there's so much more to this person that you thought you knew everything about.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that it's not fair to us women to keep on carrying that guilt and that we've been through it. We've suffered enough, enough. We've been through it. It's not fair to us to keep on carrying that burden throughout the rest of our lives. We should be free to be happy, to love, to laugh, to do whatever we want to do.
Oh,
That's
I love it.
for us. Yeah.
Well, I think something that's so amazing is, you confronted this thing that's so heavy that you were carrying that was, just holding you down. And once you started to share it, some pretty amazing things have happened, and a lot of light has been shining in. And, that's, I mean,
Yeah.
I think a pretty big sign that you're on the right track is when Oprah comes calling several times. So share with everybody about how you built the Sister Talk movement organically from, your living room, I think it was.
Yes, it was from my living room. So after I shared my story on Own Canada on Life Story Project, like I said, I love Dr. Brene Brown. So I'm always tweeting her work. I'm always talking about how she changed my life with her work on shame and vulnerability and her famous TED Talks that I'm pretty sure that you've also listened to as
Many
well.
times.
Yeah, like, oh,
Too much.
I did not, because the funny thing about going through stuff in life, you don't know how you react until you actually go through it. Like, you actually have to go through it to know what will happen next. So as much as I did feel ready, I felt like because it was totally my decision to step up and say, I want to do something. I want to help young girls, use my story as a platform to do so. But after, there was this just bout of vulnerability that I never felt before, and I just didn't know how to deal with it. And that's why then I reached out to a few of my girlfriends and I said, I can't be the only person who's struggling. Am I really the only person struggling?
Because we think we're alone, right? It's like, oh, only
Yeah.
I have the problems.
And you feel so alone. But
Mhm.
I had embarked on this new journey of courage and going out there and doing stuff. So I reached out to a few of my friends and I invited them over to my house and I said, okay, so I'm going through some stuff right now. It's very scary. I cry. One minute I'm crying, one minute I'm laughing, one minute it's like I'm going through a whole bunch of different emotions that I just cannot explain. And my poor fiance, I can't keep, like crying on his shoulders and he, doesn't know what to do with me anymore. And I'm like, I need to talk to my girls.
Yeah.
When the girls came over, it was, and the amazing thing that happened was people just opened up, people who had their own elephant story. And I want to remind people that elephant story is not just, like child sexual abuse is one of my elephant stories. I have other elephant stories that can be cultural, that can be like, whether it's a teacher who told you that you'll never amount to anything good, or your mom who kept on telling you, keep quiet, you're talking too much. Shame can come from anywhere and from anyone in your life during your life course. So at the end of that first evening, the girls all looked at me and they were like, so next month? And I was like, yeah, of course, sure. And the amazing thing that happened a year and a half later, well, going into 2 years now, was they really helped me to stay vulnerable, to stay in that space of sharing. And it was because of them I stayed strong enough and I built on my courage to stay on this journey and to continue to do more and more and more. So now we're getting ready to launch Sister Talk circles, and I'm hoping to take that worldwide, global, and to share that platform with other women who would like to start their own circles wherever they may be, in their homes, and to start authentic conversations about life and love. And let's just talk about the things that get in the way, because there are things that get in the way. Let's be honest.
Absolutely. And I know from I'm lucky enough to have the experience of joining into a Sister Talk kind of early on, and it was amazing. Just the experience, like you could literally hear a pin drop in the room and you could just feel the respect that everyone had for each other, whatever anyone was going through, you weirdly understood that situation, even if you were not in it. And that's something I strongly believe, that, you know, we're all connected. We're all people. You know, that's one of the reasons why I just thought it, like, we're all on this planet together. We're all in it together, and you obviously know that in spades, and that's why I have no doubt that this will take off around the world, because especially with technology, we're always on everything. You know, Twitter, Facebook, Google Hangouts, woo. But it's not the same as just being with
as when I grew up.
People.
And it's not the same as when I grew up.
Right. I mean, you didn't have phones, you know, growing up, probably, without electricity. So so when is it launching, and how can, you know, because people are hearing us talk about it, they're like, wait, okay, how do I get involved? Where can people connect with you about this?
So people can connect with me on my website for SisterTalk, and to get some more information. And also people can share their elephant story online via my website as well, because there is power in owning and sharing your story. The minute you do, fear slowly start to take a back step. So it's important for us to understand the impact of, or how powerful it is for us to own and share our stories. But there's some information on my website on SisterTalk Circles. We will be launching very, very soon, like next month. I've already sent out my first survey. We have about 30-something women who have signed up to become the first SisterTalk Circle leaders. So I'm getting ready to probably start to do my first training session with them. We're just waiting for the rest of the information. We just did a survey with them to get the rest of the information and get that started. I mean, I would love to see that conversation happening worldwide, because the minute we women embrace what's holding us back, or we identify what's holding us back, we will be able to go after our dreams, do whatever it is that God has placed inside of us, because each and every single one of us, we hold a piece of the puzzle. What you're doing is so awesome. Like, you are going to touch so many lives. I have to continue my part. And all the other women who are watching this Google Hangout, you have to do your part. So I want you to go after your dreams and do whatever you're supposed to do, because I need you. Gwen needs you. Yeah. We need you. Together, we can do this. We can totally do this.
Oh, man. And so what do you suggest? So if anyone who is watching this today and they're like, okay, I'm inspired, or maybe somebody who's not really quite sure what it is that they're meant to do in the world yet, what advice do you have for people who want to start something big?
My advice is to, first, you can browse my website, read some of the stories.
Oh, it's good. It's a beautiful website.
Read some of the stories. I mean, I don't know what people have gone through, what they're going through, but it will just give you an insight into what some people, real people out there, they've been through. And also through my website, I have actually I call it my dream activation, 4 steps that you can take to actually activate your dream, or to just get started and get going on the journey. I have a lot of great articles based on that, things that just steps and tools and exercises that people can do that gives them an opportunity to take a look at the barriers. Because I find sometimes when you cannot find out what you're supposed to do, what you're here for, if you start by looking at what gets in the way, that's also a very effective way of tapping into your inner greatness and tapping into your dreams.
Oh, that's great advice. Because, yeah, there's a lot of people nowadays who are like, I don't know what my grand purpose is in life. And I think the truth is no one really knows. So you just have to trust your gut, or however you're feeling.
Trust your gut. Yeah. And then get to know yourself. A huge turning point for me was to learning to love myself again. I find that it's such an effective tool, in the sense that when you learn to love yourself and who you are, all of you, embracing that elephant story side of you as well, you will do just about anything for you. You will be afraid. You will have that uncomfortable feeling in your stomach where you feel like you want to puke, but you will still take that step on your behalf, because you know what? You love who you are enough to go out and fight for your dreams. You will. So that also gives me the courage, because I'm like, you know what? Karlyn's awesome and she deserves the very best in life. So I'm going to go out there and do everything I can to help her accomplish her dreams.
And there's nothing like when you've figured out what it is, you know, when you're kind of lit up by your dream, you just want to help other people do the same, because it's like, hey, it's so great over here when you have a passion for something, yeah.
But not just that though. Once you figure it out, it doesn't necessarily mean everything is like. I still get brave. I still get afraid all the time. But and again, to quote Dr. Brené Brown, she said that she feels brave and afraid all the time. And I didn't think that these two could actually reside in the same space, but they can. So you will figure it out. But as you keep on walking in that vulnerability and that feeling afraid and being brave, we need other people so we can actually have that conversation with. I want to be able to talk to Gwen and say, Gwen, oh my God, I'm doing this, but I'm so afraid, but I'm doing it anyways. And we can have that real conversation because you're doing it as well, right? So that's the key and that's the reason why I encourage other women to do it, because now it gives us an opportunity for us to have that authentic conversation about life, about love, about the struggle, because the struggle will still be there. I still struggle, but I struggle from a different place. I don't struggle from a dark place. I just struggle with the self-doubt and the, oh my God, am I really doing this? That vulnerability, that's still very new to me. But it gets easier with every step we take. It gets easier.
And especially when you have a whole army of women behind you, not letting you fall back.
Yes.
So, Karlyn, we're coming to the end of our talk here, and it has been, I don't know, I know every time I hang out with you, I feel like there's always, you can always go deeper, you know. I feel like everyone has elephant stories, and even when you think you've uncovered your elephant story, there's something else, and I feel like I got something that's obviously like hiding somewhere, because there's no way in the world we'd get together if there wasn't something going on here. So I'm working it out. I'm gonna work it out, and it's all about
just keep walking.
Yourself. Exactly. Yeah. Don't stop.
Don't stop. Keep walking. Keep going, and you'll figure it out. Don't try so hard to figure it out. Live life. Just live. Go out. Meet your friends. Do whatever you need to do. It will come.
Oh, thank you. I'm breathing a little better now. No, you make it seem like it's just start. You know. So 2 final questions. Final parting words of advice for anyone watching today, and how do people connect with you? What's the best way to reach out if they want to connect with you?
People can connect with me, karlynpercil.com, or also on Twitter at karlynpercil, or they can also follow some of my tips. I post daily tips online on Twitter, #BestYou, and Best You stands for Be Excellent Starting Today. We can all start over every single day. So #BestYou, and final words is, greatness lies within you. So have the courage to be the best you.
Couldn't think of a better way to end that, except for, wait, how do you say goodbye in Creole?
Oh. Well, it's night, so you just say bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Bonsoir. Bonsoir. Au revoir. Au revoir, everyone. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Start Something Big. And you know, you watched the full episode, okay? Now it's time for you to take action and get out there and start something big yourself. Thanks. See you later.